here's how your money's doing. I mean, what about a little sign that you're still interested? Come on, surprise me.
A go-to person to help you get started. Regular detailed analysis of your portfolio. For a whole lot of extras at no extra charge, talk to Chuck.
In the next 60 seconds, we want you to qualify to be the next $50,000 home makeover winner. Pick up the phone and get ready to start dialing when the number appears on your screen. Call the number on your screen now, and we'll mail you a key. If your key opens the lock in your local Direct Buy Club, you'll be the next $50,000 home makeover winner. Operators are standing by, so call right now. Direct Buy Club has already awarded over $1 million, and someone is going to win the $50,000 home makeover. Why not you? If the phone number is blinking, the phone lines are now open. Call now to receive your key and an invitation to your local Direct Buy Club, where members can save thousands or more paying low direct from the source prices on big-ticket items, like kitchen cabinets, home furnishings, flooring, bathroom fixtures, and so much more. Call now and get your key to winning a $50,000 home makeover. Someone is going to win the $50,000 home makeover. Why not you?
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women have certain unalienable rights. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and the freedom to believe that our best days are still ahead.
Still nothing of note out of Nevada, and we will deliver on that promise when we can, when we have something to characterize that race. It might be quite some time. We did want to give you something of sort of a sidebar to things, and so much of the night has been a discussion of the Tea Party and its influence, extraordinary high influence, say, in Indiana, and particularly the influence of Sarah Palin. Here's the scoreboard to this point, with 32 races still outstanding. For those endorsed by the former governor of Alaska, she's not hitting too well so far at a 2-5 mark. To look at the Tea Party as a whole, and again, a disparate group with 115 races still outstanding, they're not doing all that well either, well under 500 at 14-21. So the meme that might be presented that this is some sort of revolution from the outside, well, we can debate how outside it was to begin with, can be debated to a great degree. We do have a result now that pertains to this out of South Carolina, where we can call the South Carolina governor's race a dubious set of business the last couple of years and the last couple of governors. But if we have that, here it is. We're waiting on the computer. Nikki Haley has been projected the winner of the governor's race in South Carolina, in the state of South Carolina, after another controversial campaign. And the actual hard numbers, with nearly 80% of the vote in, a significant lead of perhaps, I'm looking under my notes here, 46,000 votes over the Democrat Vincent Shaheen. Let's now go out and get a state of play assessment on how things are going for the Democrats in the Senate, which they seem likely to hold, with the House, as we say, going to the Republicans by all projections. Let's go to Nora O'Donnell in Washington with Senator Robert Menendez, the head of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. Nora?
That's right. Good evening to you, Keith. And I'm with a man who has a bit of a spring in his step tonight, and that is the chairman of the Senatorial Committee, Senator Menendez. Not only are you probably going to hold the majority, you feel good about that, but what's going on in Pennsylvania? I just looked at the numbers, 80% reporting and Sestek 51, Toomey 49. Do you really think you can win Pennsylvania tonight?
Well, we'll see when all the votes are counted, but we'd like to call Joe Sestak the comeback kid once again. Right now, you know, it's looking pretty good. We'll see for the rest of the evening, but
what's happening? What's happening in Pennsylvania that it's so close?
Well, I mean, look, these races, we've said all along these races are going to be close, and several of these races are going to be close, but I'd rather be on the upside of that close margin at this stage of the game.
But another contest that we thought was going to be close, Illinois, 63% in, I just checked the numbers, and Janulius, 49, Kirk, 46%. What are you hearing on the ground about Illinois?
Again, Illinois got a great, these two states had great turnout operations, great ground games, and on close elections, that can make all the difference in the world. We're certainly hoping that in both cases, that's exactly what's going to happen.
I've been in touch with you and a lot of your staff who kept on saying, look at the early voting, Nora, look at the early voting, we're doing well. And then I would talk to the Republicans, and I use this word before, they say, that's baloney, you know. But what was the early voting, get out the vote effort that you engaged in these states?
Well, clearly, in states that permitted early voting, we wanted to get as many voters and our targeted voters out early, understanding that late voters, can break different ways. And so that made a big push in both of these states. I think it's going to make a very big push in Nevada. And so we're looking forward to good results as a result of that effort.
And why do you feel confident about Nevada at this hour?
Well, we'll have to see. But the reality is that if you look at the early vote in Nevada, more Democrats came out. Harry Reid's probably got the best ground operation in the nation, and in a close race, that can make all the difference in the world.
So there you have it, Keith. The Democrats feeling very confident. Pennsylvania and Illinois, a lot closer than a lot of people thought at this hour. And then the Democrats saying they feel good in Nevada and also Washington State, where I was told earlier by a top source that 80% of the projected vote is already in. And based on that modeling, they feel comfortable about Washington State. So, Keith, again, Menendez, a spring in his step tonight.
Nora O'Donnell with Senator Menendez. Great thanks to you both, Nora. Nora's got a spring in her step, too. Thank you, Nora. It's not spring in the House, on the other hand, for the Democrats. That's been clear since early in the evening, and no surprises in the predictions as to what's going on there, that the House is going into Republican hands. The question is by how much. We're joined now by the former governor of Virginia, Douglas Wilder, who has taken some time to be with us tonight, and we thank you for doing so, sir.
Thanks, Keith. Good to be with you guys.
The four key sort of bellwether races in the state of Virginia have been, three of the four seem to be on the negative side for the Democrats, and the fourth looks like a virtual tie. Just to review them: Perriello in the fifth, Boucher in the ninth, Nye in the second, and a tie for Connolly in the 11th. Virginia, it swings back and forth from election to election, or is this the result of something specific? Assess your state for us.
Well, Virginia is a growing state. I was very impressed with what took place in 2008. I projected that what would happen in Virginia could influence other states like North Carolina, and it did, even Ohio, and it did. As you know, the campaign is going to start for presidency tomorrow morning, and people are going to be looking to see what happens. This doesn't bode well for Democrats in Virginia in terms of where we are. We've lost the gubernatorial race, we lose these congressional races. The only Democrat that is clearly winning tonight in Virginia in the congressional seat is Senator Scott. And he's in a district that I created when I was governor. Obviously, that district was more favorable to minorities. This doesn't speak well for us, and I think when I say us, I mean Democrats. We have got to get a better message. We've got to get a better tooling. We've got to get it out. We've got to make it simple. We've got to let people know why they need to vote for change. I've been listening to you guys, and I think you're absolutely right relative to what the responsibilities of the Republicans is going to be. They are going to have to show they can govern. They're going to have to reach across the aisle. They're going to have to, likewise, have the Democrats to come to them, and the public is looking for results, not who's in charge. And they want to have taxes spent wisely. Americans are not afraid to spend or to tax. They don't mind that. They know it costs to govern, but they want to know where it's going and how it's going. I hope that the results tonight, as far as the Virginia congressional elections are concerned, are not necessarily going to be that which we see 2 years from now. But unless we change our message, it could very easily be that, Keith.
Governor Wilder, stand by a second. We have a result from Wisconsin to project for you in the Senate race there between one of the lions of the Senate, Russ Feingold, and his Republican challenger, Ron Johnson. It has been tight all evening, but NBC News is now projecting that in this race, the incumbent, Russ Feingold, will fall to Republican challenger Ron Johnson, and the vote at nearly 30% in is a 15-point margin for the Republican Ron Johnson. And here is now the increased number of pickups for the Republicans in the Senate, 4 to this point. We don't have any guidance yet of any kind on Nevada and the Harry Reid angle race out there. Polls having closed 38 minutes ago, but right now it's Arkansas and Indiana. And at this hour, there's that number again. Now it's 45-43, 4 pickups with the remaining number outstanding. This is not good news for the Democrats, and it's particularly poignant, I think, for progressives and the left side of that of the party that Russ Feingold, who was again a target of a lot of money going into that race from outside to pick him off, was indeed picked off.
Not unexpected, though.
No, it was predicted, and we kind of saw it coming. Nonetheless, it's kind of a shock. He's been around for a long time, and you know, an established senator. You know, aside from that race, though, there is kind of an interesting pattern. I mean, and Deval Patrick is winning in Massachusetts. In Connecticut, Blumenthal won over Linda McMahon, who poured all that money into the race. You know, if this is a wave, and I think it is a wave, it's not one that sweeps away all before it and changes traditionally Democratic constituencies suddenly into Republican or Tea Party constituencies. In fact, you know, solidly Democratic places seem to be still pretty solidly Democratic.
I think it'll also be interesting to see down ticket effects, that when we do see things change. Does, for example, Marco Rubio winning handily in Florida mean that Alex Sink has a harder time in that governor's race against Rick Scott? Is there down ballot effect? I mean, some of what Feingold was facing in Wisconsin was great antipathy for the Democratic governor there. Jim Doyle not on the ballot again, choosing not to run for a third term, but Jim Doyle's approval rating was something like 27%. He'd faced really difficult choices in Wisconsin, a state hurting like many are, but they had a $7 billion budget deficit, and he tackled it. He raised taxes, he furloughed workers, did a lot of things that made him very unpopular. He was a Democrat in a leadership position in that state, and that drove a lot of those wins against Russ Feingold. So I think these races interact with each other in addition to being part of the national discussion.
Yeah, and I thought there was going to be a wipeout from Scranton all the way to Oshkosh. I thought this was the Rust Belt talking. And nice, look at this courageous, gutsy race that Joe Sexton's been running here. He not only knocked off Specter, the establishment candidate, all the money guys were behind him, the big city guys were behind him, and he's never been a popular person among the Democratic Party. And there he is. He doesn't have a great personality. He's a little guy. He's out there wearing a jacket. Look what he's doing. He is beating the wind here. And if he wins this race, this is absolutely inspiring to me, that he can win this race in Pennsylvania. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. He's ahead. You know, it really does show that guts matter.
Two notes about the Wisconsin race. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce put $750,000 into that race against Russ Feingold, and the winner, Ron Johnson, put $8.2 million to his own campaign, 64% of the money that he had available to him. But Citizens United is not an issue. Howard Feynman joins us again for the first time in a while from the Listening Post, and he's been listening to the White House. And we saw that from the graphic that you're at the Listening Post. Howard?
I am at the Listening Post, and I've been listening very hard, and the White House isn't saying anything. I do know, and I did finally get some responses out of them over there, or down there, since I'm here in New York. The president is watching the results closely. I think
what channel is he watching?
I'm sure he's watching MSNBC, just like Evan Bayh is. And
Hello, Mr. President.
He's watching ESPN. Let's just deal with that, all right?
That's true. Well, it's true that he earlier today, I think, took some time out from this very exciting night to congratulate the San Francisco Giants on their victory in the World Series. But I think what the White House is looking at is what we're looking at right now. And I agree with Gene Robinson. I think that's the White House's hope here, which is that some of these Senate races and other races in traditionally Democratic places are going to stay Democratic despite the Republican tide elsewhere. So that means they're looking closely, obviously, at Illinois, the president's home state, where Giannoulias still's got a shot. They're looking at Pennsylvania, where the Philly machine is working very hard to try to win that for Sestak. They're looking at Nevada, where Harry Reid got everybody from Capitol Hill except the elevator operators out there to try to help him save that race. And that's a specific reference to Chris Matthews, because he knows what it's like to work on the Hill. So that's what's going on at the White House. They're not going to say anything tonight. There's not going to be a conversation between John Boehner, for example, and the president this evening. None of that sort of diplomacy stuff. The president and his people are going to wait till tomorrow to the press conference at 1. They're going to desperately hope to hang on to some of these Democratic Senate seats and then come out and say, we want to work on the deficit, yes, just like you do, and we hope you'll work with us. And yes, we want to refocus on jobs. Now, on the deficit and the debt ceiling that we've been talking about a lot tonight,
I talked to some Democratic leaders on the Hill the other week about this because this debt ceiling thing is obviously going to be coming up. Here's what they expect to happen. And I also talked to Darrell Issa, who's going to be running that investigative committee. Issa is going to focus on spending initially, you know, not on un-American activities and the kind of thing that Michelle Bachmann had talked about. Try not to